What is so good about Good Friday? It is a misnomer, really, when you think about it. What could possibly be good about a man being cruelly tortured, executed, nailed to a wooden cross, blood draining out, asphyxiating on his own fluids? How is it possible that we call this day good in any sense of the word? Well, I want to answer that for you very briefly. And it takes us on a journey back into the Old Testament. You see, this Friday that we as a church commemorate is the remembrance of what Jesus did on the cross. But what Jesus did on the cross was foreshadowed in types all throughout the Old Testament through thousands of years of history. Back in the book of Exodus, God's people, the Hebrews, were in slavery in Egypt. God sent a man named Moses, we're told, and Moses told Pharaoh, "Let my people go." Moses said, "No, I'm not letting your people go." And so God, showing his power and judging the false gods of the Egyptians, sent plague after plague after plague. Moses continued to refuse to let his people go. The last plague that God sent was the death of the firstborn. And so this is what happened. We're told in the book of Exodus that God told the Hebrews, his people, to take a lamb, a perfect spotless lamb, to slaughter the lamb at sunset, and then to take the lamb's blood and spread it across the doorpost and the lintel of the house. And that evening, when the destroying angel came through the city, those who had the blood over the doorposts of the house were safe, but those who did not have the blood over their house, within that house, the firstborn child would die. Now, all the Hebrews, in obedience to this, slaughtered the lamb. They ate a meal together, roasted lamb, bread made without yeast, flat bread, bitter herbs, and they were safe. The destroying angel passed over the house. They were saved from God's judgment and his destruction. But unfortunately, the Egyptians did not do this. And so as a result, throughout the city, many firstborn children, adults who had been firstborn, they all died. And so there was a great wailing that evening, a horrible time. And so Pharaoh decided he'd had enough, and he let God's people, the Hebrews, go. And though this is a picture of God's deliverance from slavery and his securing or saving us from wrath and judgment. And throughout the successive generations after that, the Israelites are told to commemorate this meal, this Passover meal, because the angel passed over those houses. And they did this on a yearly basis. Now we get to the end of what we call normally Holy Week, the last week of Jesus' earthly ministry before his crucifixion. And we get to Good Friday. This is the day that the lambs are being sacrificed in the temple, and this is the day that Jesus will die. But just before that, the night before, Thursday night, something else happened. I want you to understand this. Today is Thursday in Holy Week. Tomorrow is Good Friday. I want you to have an opportunity maybe to read about these things for yourself, ponder these things, think about them as we head towards Easter. But on that Thursday night, you can read about this in Matthew chapter 26 if you like. On that Thursday night, Jesus got together with his disciples. As Galilean Jews from the north, there's so many pilgrims coming into Jerusalem for this annual feast that they would celebrate this on a Thursday night before the actual Passover on that Friday. So the Galilean Jews, Jesus along with his disciples, they got together. They got a lamb. They met in an upper room, and they celebrated the Passover meal together. But Jesus did something very interesting. Jesus, knowing that his people had been celebrating this for years and years and years, generations, he took the opportunity at the end of this meal to institute something new. And this is a wonderful picture, a wonderful illustration for the church today. In fact, we continue to do this as Christians even today in memory of his sacrifice. Jesus, at the end of that meal, after they ate the lamb and drank the wine and ate the bread, Jesus took bread and a cup of wine, and he said, "This is a picture of me." He said, "This bread represents my body. It's broken for you. This cup represents my blood, the blood of the new covenant or the new testament." And what Jesus was saying to his disciples is this: everything that the Old Testament pointed forward to, everything that our people have been looking forward to for many generations is finally here. I am the final Passover lamb. That picture of the bread and the cup that we continue to take today as a memory of his sacrifice is a picture of his death on our behalf. And probably the most often quoted verse in the Bible, John 3:16, we're told that God so loved the world that he sacrificially gave his one and only Son, so that whoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. You see, Jesus shed his precious blood so that it could cover those who run into it, who trust in it. Perhaps the best illustration of this in the Old Testament is Isaiah chapter 53. This is a prophecy that was written many hundreds of years before Jesus. In this prophecy, we're told, God says that my suffering servant will be a sacrifice for many. He will be crushed. He will be bruised for our iniquities. By his stripes we are healed. He's led like a lamb to the slaughter, silent. He gave his life. And that's exactly what Jesus did. He is the Passover lamb. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." During this time, this uncomfortable time, when we're faced with this pandemic, the coronavirus, many of us are forced to think about death and life and put things sort of in a new perspective for us. We can't help it. It's on the news every day. It may even be around us or affecting those that we love. It may even come to us. We don't know. But during this time, I want to encourage you as you think about these things, and these are heavy, deep subjects to be thinking about. I would encourage you to turn your attention to the scriptures. Turn to what the Bible has to say. Turn to the one who sacrificed and gave his life. You see, there would be no Easter Sunday, no celebration of Jesus' resurrection, if there had not been a Good Friday. Good Friday is good because in Jesus' death, we can have life. We can be freed, saved from his wrath, freed from sin and the guilt of sin to live a new life in him. That's what Good Friday is all about. That's why it's good. In these next few days, as you have opportunity to think about these things, I'll be praying for you that you, if you're not a Christian yet, will turn to the one who died and rose again, who was delivered up for our trespasses, our sins, and was raised to life in order to declare us righteous by faith in him. Would you turn to him today? God bless you as you endure the difficult times that we're in right now. God bless you. I'm praying for you. I love you. Have a great weekend thinking about these things. And happy Good Friday if you're a Christian. God bless you.